What's up, everybody? Welcome to HipHop Biographics. And on this channel, we cover hip-hop legends, figures, and forgotten moments in hip-hop. Today, we'll be discussing Tupac Shakur. Lassane Parrish Crooks, better known as Tupac Shakur, was born on June 16, 1971, in the East Harlem section of Manhattan, New York. At the tender age of 1, Lassane was renamed Tupac after the Incan ruler Tupac Amaru, who was executed in 1781 after his failed slave revolt against the Spanish who was ruling at the time. Tupac was raised by his mother, Afeni Shakur, who was born Alice Faye Williams, but later changing her name to Afeni. Afeni was a part of the famous Black Panther Party. During Afeni's pregnancy with Tupac, she would be placed on trial for her part in the Panther 21. The Panther 21 trial was a trial that accused 21 Black Panther members of composing an attack and the bombing of 2 police stations in New York City. Afeni and the 20 other Panthers would be acquitted in May of 1971, a month before Tupac would be born. But after Tupac's birth, his stepfather, Muda Shakur, would be arrested for his part in a bank robbery of a Brinks truck, which they got away with $1.6 million. But this lick resulted in the death of 2 police officers and a guard. During Tupac's childhood years, he moved from New York City to Baltimore, Maryland. In 1984, he would attend Baltimore School of Arts, where he would perform in Shakespeare plays. While attending Baltimore School of Arts, Tupac would befriend the actress and musician Jada Pinkett Smith, the wife of Will Smith. Jada would be quoted to say after the death of Tupac that Tupac was one of my best friends. He was like a brother. He was beyond friendship for us. In 1988, Tupac and his family would move to Marion City in California, about 5 miles from San Francisco, where he attended Thermopolis High School. Just a year later, Tupac would begin his rap career, going by the rap moniker MC New York. He would meet Leela Steinberg, who later became his manager, who managed to get him signed by A-Tron Gregory, who was the manager of Digital Underground, where he became a roadie and a backup dancer. And in 1991, Tupac would make his debut as Tupac instead of MC New York on the Digital Underground track, Same Song. Also, that same year in November, Tupac would release his debut album, Tupacalypse. Tupac tapped into his poetic songs about the streets and the struggles within the Black community, with tracks such as Brenda's Got a Baby. Tupacalypse featured other tracks such as If My Homies Called and Trap. Tupacalypse was going to be a success, selling 500,000 records and going gold. But the Vice President of the United States at the time, Dan Quayle, would ask Interscope to pull the records off the shelves, blaming the death of a state trooper on the tape because the suspect was listening to the tape when the incident occurred. Tupac would go on to release his second studio album, Strictly For My Niggas, in February of 1993, with the album charting at number 24 on the Billboard 200. Later in 1993, Tupac would face legal troubles when he shot 2 police officers. In October of 1993, 2 off-duty cops and brothers, Mark Whitwell and Scott Whitwell, were out celebrating when they was almost hit by a car, which Tupac was a passenger in, causing an altercation. While the altercation was taking place, began firing at the car carrying Tupac. Tupac returned fire, shooting one of the men in the butt and the other in the leg and back. Tupac was charged with assault, but later the charges were dropped, and just a year later, Tupac would be involved in another shooting incident, this time with him being the victim. On November 30th, 1994, Tupac was allegedly offered $7,000 by Jimmy Henchman to go record a verse with his client, Lil Sean. Reluctant at first, Tupac agreed to go record the verse in order to help pay for his legal fees. While entering the lobby of the studio, Tupac was ambushed by 3 gunmen, where he was beat, shot, and robbed. Tupac would be rushed to the hospital, where he underwent surgery, and just 3 hours after surgery, Tupac would go against doctors' wishes and would check himself out of the hospital. And the next day, Tupac will appear in court wrapped in bandages for his sexual assault case, where he will be convicted on 3 of the 6 charges. Tupac will go on to release his 3rd studio album, Me Against the World, in March of 1995. And during the album's first week, it sold 240,000 copies, breaking the record of the highest selling album for a male solo artist, while going #1 on the Billboard 200, all while Tupac was in prison. While in 1995, Tupac began serving his sentence of 3 years, but after 8 months, he would be released, but not before signing to death row for an advance of $1 million in exchange for 3 albums. Now living in Los Angeles and signed to death row, Tupac began to work on his 4th studio album, All Eyes on Me. All Eyes on Me will be released on February 13th, 1996. This was the first time rap has ever seen a double disc album, which took care of 2 of the 3 albums Tupac was signed to death row for. All Eyes on Me feature a more raw, angry Tupac versus the Tupac with political messages and raps about the struggle. All Eyes on Me will go on to sell 566,000 copies its first week, making the #1 album in the country, while going 5 times platinum in April of that year. But unfortunately, this will be Tupac's last album he will release while alive. On the night of September 7th, 1996, Tupac was attending the Bruce Seldon and Mike Tyson boxing match with Suge Knight at the MGM Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. After the boxing match, Tupac spotted Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, who was accused by another member of Death Row of trying to snatch his Death Row medallion earlier that day. After being pointed out for trying to steal from one of Tupac's associates, Tupac walked over to Orlando Anderson and began assaulting him with other members of Death Row before fleeing to MGM. Later that night, Tupac and Suge will be traveling on the Las Vegas Strip to Suge Knight's club, Club 662, and about 11:15, Tupac, who was in the passenger seat, and Suge Knight, who was driving, stopped at a red light on the strip. While standing at a red light, a white 4-door late model Cadillac pulled up alongside Tupac and Suge's vehicle and began rapidly firing into the vehicle, striking Tupac 4 times, once in the arm, once in the thigh, and twice in the chest, and grazing Suge Knight in the head. Tupac would be rushed to the University Medical of Southern Nevada, where he would be sedated and put on life support, but succumbed to his injuries on September 13th, 1996, just 6 days later. The official cause of death being ruled as respiratory failure, cardiac arrest, and internal bleeding. Tupac will release one more official album after his death, called The Dawn of Illuminati, The 7-Day Theory. It will be released on November 5th of 1996 under his new alias, Machiavelli. The album will go on to sell 664,000 units. In its first week alone, it became 4 times platinum, proving to the world and hip-hop that Tupac was one of the most influential rappers to ever walk the earth. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.